global clients across the world in a variety of industries, helping them implement artificial intelligence solutions. At any point in time across AI and analytics and some of the work we do in automation, we have anywhere between 500 plus projects ongoing. And here's the number one thing I hear very consistently, very strongly, and very clearly from CEOs, boards, and CXOs across the globe, which is, in reality, AI is very difficult to get off the ground in the enterprise. It's complex, the startup costs are high, the time it takes to get to escape velocity just takes a lot of effort. Second, the time it takes to realize value, from the time you start to work through the experimentation and the subsequent scaling and the industrialization and the deployment and then returns, the time to value is exceptionally long. And third, while there are many generic platforms that are available, they don't deliver the prediction accuracy that's required in a real-life business case environment. Some of my clients are in regulated environments, so even more so. And so there's a need for something that allows them to get faster and get off better. And so we look across those three things that we've been hearing over time now. And I want to share with you some of the work we've done in cracking that problem for us, in the hopes that you might be able to benefit from it. And if nothing else, the insights and the learnings we've taken away in the process. We do know that change is constant. We do know that disruption is coming. And we believe artificial intelligence is going to drive significant and sustainable competitive differentiation for companies. 50% of Fortune 500 companies since 2000 or so are no longer in existence. The expanding culture. 80% of companies that are publicly listed in the United States since 1980 are not in business today. The expectation over the next 5 years is another 13% will go the same way. So change, disruption, velocity, the intensity is only increasing. And AI gives us the ability to build reimagined processes, better sustainable competitive differentiation for the long run. But we have to find a way to utilize that. Our prediction as we work across industries is that companies that use AI to enable business processes are going to drive twice the growth in market share than their nearest competitors. So this is significant. When we started thinking about how do we approach the problem, I'll take you back a few years in my life. I grew up learning to code for the first time when I went to college. And in this place where I went, which is the IIT in India, at the time we used to have 2 DEC VAX boxes. I'm dating myself obviously. But you had option 1 and you had option 2. And it wasn't that the school couldn't afford to buy any more products. It's that there was only 2 versions available. Computing at the time was monolithic, it was large, it was singular, it had a fixed set of options. That's what you got. You could take this option, you could take this option, maybe you could get a couple other options. That was the world then. Today I look at my children and I just can't help but smile. I have 2 sons, they're both in middle school, high school. One of them bought chips from eBay and combined his own CPUs with GPUs and GNUs and memory boards because he wanted to build a gaming computer. And my other son, who's a broadcaster, webcaster, YouTuber, wanted to have a streaming workstation that he built his own. And there you have it, folks, the ability to modularize technology, the ability to be able to put it into these Lego blocks of building sorts of components that you can reaggregate into different value chains has driven the explosion in computing. And actually time after time after time, if you go back and look at the evolution of technology and the curves they've followed, we found that modularization is the inflection point at which the technology used just explodes and becomes really abundant. I'll give you another example you can relate to. Certainly this happened in my lifetime. We went from film and chemistry for photography to digital and mathematics for photography. So we went from film to digital. That's modularization. And one of the aspects of modularization I want you to think about is that it came to be in a form factor that could then quickly get attached into different value chains. So when you're vacationing and you're sending an Instagram feed to your friends and keeping them updated on what's going on, you're able to quickly attach that photograph into that feed. When I put together our Christmas cards at the end of the year, invariably it's going to include some of the best photographs of the year, and it's because I'm able to quickly attach it and be able to print out a very customized card. I know you, one of you, We'll be getting a coffee mug this weekend for Father's Day, and it's probably going to have a family photograph on it, and you'll be looking at it very proudly. But it happened because the technology got modularized. And I think that's a basic fundamental lesson we took away as we thought about previous waves of technology. So then we set about thinking, how do we do that in the enterprise? And of course, the first thing we turned to was the human brain, which of course is the perfect place to start. I'm going to ask you this. When was the last time you drove home from work? Please think back to that. And as you think about that, tell me, can you remember every single light on the way, whether it was red or green? Now, if you're like me, I last did that drive on Friday last week. I cannot remember it at all. But also, if you're like me, you made every turn safely, you navigated through every intersection correctly based on the lights that were there. And it's because the human brain has developed an ability to bring in these small modules of logic at the right time, at the right place, execute for the problem that's in there, and then move it away. In fact, it's said that our human brain receives 11 million inputs a second, and we can process only 40 of those. So it becomes really important to sort of think about this and the role of modules, bits and bytes of cognitive thinking that come into play. Let's continue with the story. So you got home, you parked the car, grabbed the mail at the mailbox, got into the house, you're just about getting to the kitchen table, and in your hand you're already flipping to the mail pile. In the flash of that instant, as you sit down on your dining table, you've already taken out the 2 flyers which look like the real estate advertisement for the open house that's going to be happening on the weekend down the street. And you put aside the 3 envelopes that you know are the utility bills and the phone bill that you're going to have to pay. And in your mind, you've already made a mental note that on Saturday, I'm going to put aside 30 minutes because you've got to write a bunch of checks. All of that happened in the flash of an instant because your mind was programmed to deal with it at the right time. And we started thinking about those modules, those components of cognitive bits. And we said, how do we capture that in the context of business applications? And in fact, that's what we did. So we said, let's take a look at accounts payable. It's a pretty large process for large corporations. We do a ton of this for many of our clients. And we said, let's do the same thing. Let's break the problem into cognitive subroutines. We said, we should think about extraction, we should think about classification, we should think about reasoning, we should think about learning. And so in so doing, we said, well, let's start with extraction. Can we disaggregate tables? Can we extract invoice numbers and dollar amounts and like? Can we do that consistently with invoices, with purchase orders, with warehouse documents, with third-party logistics documents, and really be able to understand and pull that information out into a structured database? And we said, let's apply classification. And how do you train that classification engine into the yes, we'll pay, no, we won't pay, or the reasoning engine that says, this one's going to have to go through an exception approval. We're going to have to get someone's permission on that. We're going to go check the PO for a secondary assessment of this. And that reasoning. Of course, through all of this, how do you have a learning module that allows you to keep perfecting your algorithms over time? And I think the critical inflection point for us was when we broke this massive, cumbersome, large, multi-sort of rank process into bits, into building blocks, into chips on a motherboard, into components, into Lego bricks that we could integrate into a value chain. It changed how we approach artificial intelligence. And so we've actually started building methodically what we call pre-trained AI accelerators. So it's an important word, pre-trained, because we're saying on the bottom that we're using artificial intelligence engines. We find them to be very convenient. We think there's a few of them available. We think they're going to soon be commodity, and they're going to be great pieces of horizontal technology, but they don't today allow you to apply it to legal processing, into financial regulations, into adverse events in pharmaceuticals. Those are specialized domains that we can't address with that. So we built on top of that 2 components. We built a component for a data platform that allows us to bring data at scale through those engines so we can tune them, and a domain orchestrator that allows us to label that data to be able to inform the context for that, and just be able to pre-train those accelerators. And we built these accelerators, and we then basically made it available as a service by putting into a repository, putting an API with a web services layer, so we can pull it and be able to add it and aggregate it into different value chains. And that was a turning point for us, because what it enabled us to do, and we're very focused on this, and a few of us have followed us for a while, so you know that we have a digital business platform we call Jetpack Cora. We think it's important because digital invariably, the journey is never a destination, and there are many steps on the way. You need a modular, integratable, high governance oriented platform to be able to do that. You don't have to do this every single time, but we did it. So we built all our accelerators on top of Jetpack Cora. And I think what we've reached today is, and we're very proud of this, we have 60 plus pre-trained AI accelerators that are domain specific, that are focused on actual business problems that actually address complex business issues. And we believe this is the largest available publicly available set of pre-trained accelerators in the world today. We're very proud of what we've done there. And the reality is that it's had an amazing impact on the work we do in AI and what we've done with clients. And I'll give you a few examples just to bring that to life. The first example is from insurance. We serve a number of clients in insurance across the globe. And what we find with them is auto insurance, auto claims, if you will. It's a tricky process. And we've basically taken a convolutional neural net and we've trained it with millions of photographs that we have previously aggregated for clients and severity labels from those files that we have. And so you can imagine that, on the previous diagram, tons of that data being labeled and put through the AI engines to pre-tune this accelerator to make it available. And now it's available as a service. What we're finding is when we apply that to claims aggregation, it's reducing the time it takes to get that done from days to minutes. And then go back to my idea of modularity. What it's done is it's allowed us to take the same component and now you can apply it in lease termination value calculation for cars. You can apply it in car rental return checklist aggregation. And so it's the conversion of this big thing into small bits and bytes and the reusability of those small bits and bytes that's just been fundamental in our approach to AI. We serve many clients in retail and consumer goods globally. One of the largest challenges many of my clients face that we serve is this area of trade payments, which is to say the dilution they get off the top line revenue because of disputes and reconciliation mismatches. And so we pre-train accelerators in this area that actually open up invoices, purchase orders, logistics documents, third-party provider documents, etc. And we can bring in and ingest all that data, and then we apply pre-trained accelerators that can reconcile them. We apply pre-trained accelerators that can reason on them, and it's that combination of multiple accelerators that actually brings out the disputed amount that allows you to address those issues up front and take money down to the bottom line. Here's an example you're probably able to relate to because I go to a pharmacy in the United States, and what I find is when I show up there, I have a wait time to pick up my medication. And the reason there's a wait time is very simple. The doctor's instructions that were electronically sent to the pharmacy is not the same as what gets printed on the label on the medication that I bring back. And so there's a step in the middle where the pharmacist actually has to read those instructions and convert them into the English language printed directions that I will take as a recipient of that medication. And there's a process associated with that. We build pre-trained accelerators that actually use medical libraries that use the FDA database, and we automatically convert the doctor's instructions into the printed labels that will eventually go through. And it obviously increases their accuracy, but what it really does is it compresses the time and takes me out of that queue, standing in line, waiting for medication for something that is just an unnecessary medical manual step in there. So there's an example where when we apply this, we have reduced the time it took. We've reduced the complexity it took to try and bootstrap everything from the ground, to be able to build from the basics, to start from scratch. And instead of all that, we're bringing these bricks, these pre-trained AI modules, and we're quickly assembling them and addressing each of those value chains. I'll give you one more example, and this comes from the banking world. We serve many banks around the world. We serve them in different areas. One of the areas we focus on is commercial lending. And within the world of commercial lending, we help them with risk management. So imagine if you're a bank with a lending portfolio, and basically what you have to do is you have to understand the risk of the lending portfolio. We have pre-trained AI accelerators now that can read 13 different languages, can operate in 22 different country GAAP standards. And for each of those that we support, we'll take a balance sheet, It'll ingest it and read all of the text, including the text in the footnotes, and it will compute risk scores or financial scores based on the interpretation of the financial statement. It isn't just extracting the numbers from the table, it's actually reading the document and converting it into financial scores. And we've done this now in a way that those modules are now reaggregatable. So when we go from one client to the second client, to the third client, to the next bank, the startup time, the time to value now is incredibly short, because what we're doing is not starting with a generic platform and building everything on top of it. We're starting with this modular piece of technology that you can quickly integrate. So as you can see, we're super excited about the work we're doing with pre-trained AI accelerators. We're launched that today publicly, so it's actually available in the industry. And if you'd like, we have demos and such. We have a booth outside that you might want to stop by if that's of interest, or reach us in any other way. But I think if there's a few things you want to take away from this discussion, I want for this to be it. Clearly, we're super excited about AI, and we think pre-trained AI accelerator is the thing that's going to drive that for the enterprise. But next time you are taking a photograph with your iPhone, or next time you're in line at the pharmacy or shopping at the grocery store, or perhaps driving home from work and taking the turns and going through the lights, I'd like you to think back to this conversation. Because when you take technology and you make it universally applicable, you make it quickly deployable, you make it simple to use, the beauty of the technology really comes through. And the reality is, we believe pre-trained AI accelerators is going to unlock the value of AI in the enterprise. I wish you well in that journey, and thank you.